The most powerful man in the Middle East has never given an interview, no social media, no press appearances, no scandals engineered for public consumption, while the world's attention cycles endlessly through celebrity billionaires and camera-hungry heads of state. One ruler has spent decades accumulating influence so quietly that most people outside senior diplomatic circles cannot tell you his name. That invisibility is not an accident. It is the architecture of his power. Before we go further, like this video and subscribe to Zenith so you never miss deep dives like this. His name is Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, ruler of Oman, and the world he inhabits, the aircraft, the ships, the convoys, the palaces sealed from public view, is not built for display. It is built for permanence, for a style of sovereignty so disciplined and so deliberately restrained that it has made Oman one of the most strategically indispensable nations on earth, inside a region defined almost entirely by noise, instability, and conflict. This is what power looks like when it has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Begin with the aircraft, because nothing established true scale Haitham commands quite as clearly as the Royal Flight of Oman. At the center of the fleet sits a Boeing 747-8BJ, call sign Nizwa, valued at approximately $200 million. This is not a private jet in any recognizable sense of that phrase. The interior houses private leather suites, gold-trimmed walls, dedicated emergency command centers, and meeting rooms wired for classified diplomatic briefings at the highest level of state sensitivity. When Haitham is airborne, the aircraft does not merely transport him. It functions as a mobile seat of government, a flying palace fully capable of conducting the sovereign business of a nation from 40,000 feet. Supporting the flagship are Airbus A310s and A320s, each retrofitted for regional speed and the kind of quiet diplomacy that never surfaces in press releases. Unannounced visits, back-channel negotiations, handshakes that reshape relationships before anyone outside the room knows they happened. Then there is the Gulfstream G550, a narrow, near-silent long-range aircraft with a 7,000-mile operational range, deployed when speed and near-total anonymity are the primary mission requirements. It can cross continents before any public record of departure exists. Military-grade Eurocopter Super Puma helicopters complete the aerial picture, capable of inserting or extracting the Sultan from virtually any terrain within minutes. Flight paths are classified, crews are individually vetted, alternate aircraft shadow the primary at all times. This is not the aviation portfolio of a wealthy man who enjoys travel. It is a precision instrument of strategic mobility, maintained and operated with the discipline of a military asset, because that is functionally what it is. On water, the scale is equally formidable. Haitham commands two of the most significant royal vessels currently operational anywhere on Earth. The first is the Fulk al-Salama, Arabic for ship of peace, a name that captures exactly none of what the vessel is capable of. Valued at over $500 million, it carries high-level negotiation suites, a fully equipped private hospital, a beach club, a helipad configured for rapid departure and VIP arrival, and the communications infrastructure necessary to conduct sovereign diplomacy in international waters, entirely outside the reach of any press corps or foreign intelligence apparatus operating from shore. The second vessel is the Al Said, constructed by Germany's Lürssen shipyard at an estimated $300 million. Where the Fulk al-Salama is engineered for operational capability, the Al Said is built for a different kind of power. An orchestra stage, hand-carved Omani wood interiors throughout, and audience chambers designed specifically for heads of state and royal-level guests. Both ships carry radar shielding, encrypted communications systems, and emergency lockdown protocols built to military specification. When either vessel enters an international harbor, it is not a leisure visit. It is the deliberate projection of a sovereign presence into foreign waters, calculated theater, executed without a single word. On land, the convoy that moves Haitham through the world operates on identical principles: maximum protection, absolute restraint, zero theater. The lead vehicle is a Mercedes-Maybach S600, armored, encrypted, equipped with air purification and active security scanning systems that transform it from a luxury automobile into a mobile command post. Alongside it moves a Bugatti Chiron, a $3 million machine producing 1,500 horsepower in near silence, speed held entirely in reserve, available instantly, and announced to no one. When formal protocol demands a more ceremonial register, a bespoke Rolls-Royce Phantom emerges, hand-stitched interiors, a ride so refined it appears to float above the surface of the road. For demanding terrain across Oman's deserts and mountain regions, a Bentley Bentayga fitted with bulletproof glass and a handcrafted V8 handles conditions that would compromise lesser vehicles without sacrificing either security or composure. Every vehicle in the convoy is reinforced to the same protection standard. Every movement is preceded by an advanced team of intelligence and logistics specialists who arrive ahead of the motorcade, sweep the environment, identify threats, establish emergency extraction routes, and position rapid response units at critical points, all before the Sultan's vehicles are ever visible. Traffic is pre-cleared. Intersections are sealed. Live drone surveillance feeds into mobile command hubs while helicopters hold position overhead. The entire operation moves in silence. No sirens, no visible force, no aggression. Just methodical, rehearsed, coordinated motion. A fortress on wheels that announces nothing, controls everything, and leaves no margin for error at any point in its execution. The man at the center of all of this came to power under circumstances that, even by the standards of Gulf succession politics, were unusually dramatic. When Sultan Qaboos, Oman's longest-serving ruler and one of the most consequential leaders in modern Middle Eastern history, died in January 2020, he left behind no publicly named heir. Succession was determined by a sealed envelope to be opened only at the moment of his death, containing a single name chosen by Qaboos alone. When it was opened, it named Haytham bin Tariq. To outside observers, the choice was unexpected. To those embedded within Oman's palace structures, it was the culmination of nearly 2 decades of deliberate, patient, largely invisible preparation. Haytham had served as Minister of Heritage and Culture since 2002, a portfolio that appeared ceremonial from the outside and was anything but. It gave him sustained, deep engagement with Oman's national identity, its diplomatic relationships across a volatile region, and the foundational principles that had kept the country stable while its neighbors fractured repeatedly around it. He traveled widely. He negotiated without seeking credit. He built relationships across competing regional power blocks without accumulating the kind of enemies that visible ambition always generates. When the throne passed to him, the environment was punishing. Oil markets were destabilized, Gulf fault lines were shifting, and every regional power was watching to see whether Oman's famous neutrality would survive the transition. It did. Haytham restructured the government, accelerated economic diversification away from oil dependency, and recalibrated Oman's foreign relationships without disturbing the single principle that gives the country its unique strategic value: the willingness and ability to maintain productive relationships with all sides simultaneously, including parties that cannot acknowledge speaking to each other. Oman under Haytham has functioned as a back channel between adversaries whose direct communication would be politically impossible, facilitating negotiations that never appear in public records precisely because their effectiveness depends on remaining invisible. This is the logic that runs beneath every dimension of how Haytham exercises power. The $200 million aircraft, the $500 million flagship vessel, the armored convoy moving through pre-cleared streets in total silence. These are not the instruments of a man who needs to perform his authority. They are the infrastructure of a ruler who has spent decades ensuring that his authority requires no performance. In a region where leaders compete for visibility, Haytham has built a position where his restraint is itself the signal. The absence of noise, for those who understand how Gulf power actually operates, is louder than any statement he could make. Most rulers at this level are defined by what they say. Haytham is defined by what he withholds. His public appearances are infrequent and precisely timed. His absences are as deliberate as his presences. He does not chase international approval or media cycles. He does not perform leadership for an audience. He executes it through institutional discipline, through the calibrated management of relationships that span the full spectrum of regional and global power, and through a personal style so composed and so controlled that it reads, to those accustomed to louder forms of authority, as almost invisible. It is not invisible. It is simply operating at a frequency that most observers are not equipped to detect. The quietest man in the room is running the most stable country in the Middle East. That is not a coincidence. That is the strategy. If you found this valuable, like this video and subscribe to Zenith for more. Every week we go behind the headlines and into the real architecture of global power.